Today, anonymous sources say President Trump called dead troops losers, despite multiple witnesses who dispute that account. And the suspect in the fatal Portland shooting has been killed in an officer-involved incident. We've got the latest for you, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Happy Friday. It is Friday, which means we have Stu Burgier and Pat Gray in the house, both of BlazeTV. Thank you for being here, gentlemen.
Long weekend ahead. Very excited about it.
Oh, that is right. Golly.
Yeah.
I'm working too hard because I totally forgot that it was a long weekend.
She's on, though, for Labor Day, right? She has to do the show.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Wait.
Sarah will be in. Sarah will be in. Just make sure you come back here. She'll be doing a show, possibly by herself.
Yeah, no, that wasn't in my plan for the weekend.
No, that's true.
Okay. So apparently this is just the week that keeps on giving with news, and it just doesn't stop. I feel like if you sleep at night and then you wake up and it takes way too much time to get caught up on all of the things that have developed just overnight. Mm-hmm. So anonymous sources, it's always anonymous sources, according to a report published by The Atlantic, claimed yesterday that President Trump called American troops who died in battle losers and suckers. And the story is now being disputed by at least 5 witnesses who were with the president that the day in question and say that the story is nothing short of a fabrication. Now, The Atlantic said President Trump canceled a visit to an American cemetery near Paris in 2018. It says he blamed rain for the last-minute decision, saying that, quote, the helicopter couldn't fly and that the Secret Service wouldn't drive him there. But neither claim was true. Trump rejected the idea of the visit because he feared his hair would become disheveled in the rain, and he did not believe it important to honor American war dead. Now, this is how The Atlantic writes it is, according to 4 people with firsthand knowledge of the discussion that day. According to them, Trump said, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." But according to 5 people who have actually gone on record, that is not true. That it was the weather, and this is just another fake news media story made up by people who are out to get Trump. Stu, what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, there seems to be multiple sources, and, not only just saying it, but there's documents and there's all sorts of stuff that show this isn't right. The other part of this is, look, we don't know every private conversation the president has, but this is completely inconsistent with everything we know about him.
Yes.
The guy likes the troops. He's a big fan of them.
That's one thing he's been super consistent on this entire time, in words and actions.
He wanted to throw a giant military parade in the middle of Washington, D.C. Like, that was his big agenda point. Look, I don't even think it's mildly convincing that it could be true. Nobody's on the record saying it. I think this is much more of an effort to not even to win over Republicans or even people in the middle. This is an effort to raise money from leftists who already hate Donald Trump, and they're going to share it around like crazy and try to generate some attention from the base. But look, we don't know, of course, anything that was said. But if you would have said, like, okay, Donald Trump saw a woman passing by and said, hey, she's got a nice butt, I would say, like, okay, I don't think he's doing that as president of the United States, but I mean, it's kind of consistent with things he said in the past. This is completely disconnected to anything he said. And the only thing that people bring up is like, well, he once said bad things about John McCain. And it's like, well, he didn't like John McCain.
Right.
Okay? He didn't, he said bad things about individual members of the military, but he is not an anti-troop guy. I don't think it's going to be a successful attack because it's so against everything that everyone knows about him.
Yeah. And Pat, to Stu's point, and that's what I said this morning when I read it, was just like, he insulted John McCain because he felt insulted by John McCain. That's what Trump does every single time, right? Anytime someone says something negative about him, he's got to go and he's got to punch back. For better or worse, you can respect it or not, but it's what he does. That at least is consistent with, okay, I'm insulting this person because I don't like that they attacked me.
Right.
But other than that,
it's a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute lie. Do I believe he didn't want to get his hair in the rain? Yes.
Absolutely.
I do believe that. I do. I don't think that comb over would work very well in the rain. But I don't believe for a second that he said any of those things about dead Americans in the cemetery. World War I heroes? No way did he say that.
If they produce audio tape recording of him saying it. Like, even then I would be like, how is this possible? Look, if he actually did say it, I would think it would be, again, what were I don't know. It's such a ridiculous story. It's hard to even entertain a different possibility of it just being false. But if it were true, obviously, if this guy was trashing troops behind the scenes on the record or off the record, it would bother me in a big way. Yeah. I can't imagine it's actually true.
But isn't that, it really shows more just the state of journalism and the media these days, that like this is what's leading the headlines, this is what everyone's talking about, this is what we're forced to talk about, when at the end of the day, it's all anonymous sources.
It's complete and utter nonsense, right? Like, it's complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah.
We're back to a place where the unemployment rate is now basically at the same exact levels of Barack Obama when he was running in 2012.
8.4
8.4 currently. It was 8.1 in the same month when Barack Obama was leading up to his reelection. Which is incredible when you think about it.
Well, because this is after something way more significant than Barack Obama had to deal with through no fault of his own.
Right, like say Barack Obama had the financial crash happen in October 2008. Basically, 4 full years later, he had the unemployment rate down to 8.1%. Trump, this happened in March. Yeah. In April, it hit 14.7. We're down to 8.4 already, obviously heading in the right direction. That's a big story today. It's getting almost no attention because of an off-the-record complaint. And I will say this, if you have something like this, put your freaking name to it. You know what I mean? Put your freaking name to it. If not, it's not even worth reporting. It's just dramatic gossip anyway. It's not like it's a policy that's affecting people. Hey, I know X, Y, and Z is happening. These people are being mistreated. If anything, it's just, if it were true, it would be a terrible offhanded comment that he shouldn't make. But still, the body of evidence with Donald Trump would indicate that he's pro-troops still.
Right.
Trump says a lot of things. I think it's best to just especially ignore this stuff. It's not even on the record. We don't even know the people who are saying that it occurred. We have multiple people, as you point out, that indicate that it isn't true. There's documentation that it doesn't look like it was true.
And they're going on the record. They're not anonymous sources.
Right. The real sources.
Out and disputing it.
Look, anonymous sources can be valuable for certain things at certain times. Not like this. Not for gossip. It's insanity. It's insanity. And, this is a guy, we should point out, the guy who wrote this story is the guy who fired Kevin Williamson because he was pro-life. Because he made pro-life comments in his past. Oh, gosh. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's a ridiculous. It's honestly, it's just worth tossing away. You're making the claim that he would be biased. Yeah, I think he is.
Really?
In fact, I know he is. He's definitely biased. And that doesn't mean he makes up all of his reporting. But I would not be surprised at all if 4 people from somewhere in the general vicinity of the administration are saying bad things about Donald Trump, and they're saying the same story. Is it true? I really doubt it's true. It just doesn't seem consistent at all.
Yeah.
There was a time when you wouldn't even print a story like this.
Right.
Because you got no corroboration.
Nothing.
You've got no proof. You've got no evidence at all. You've got somebody saying that they heard something sometime and they won't even go on the record. That's not even worth printing.
Which really, it makes you wonder, we work in this business, so it's hard for me to take a step back and say, okay, we know better, but does the average American even put any stock into a story like this, a hit piece like this? That's what I'm having trouble.
Yeah, I don't know.
Figuring out.
I hope not. I don't. But things have changed so much. Who knows? Obviously, Democrats. That's gonna enhance their worldview of Donald Trump. That's going to back up everything they already believe about him.
Right.
And Republicans will, like us, conservatives will say, no way did he say that. Anybody who's been paying attention to what Donald Trump has said and the way he's lived his life up until now wouldn't believe that he would say those things about the troops. Which
is funny that you say Democrats will use that as an opportunity to, it will bolster their worldview of Donald Trump, as if Democrats have been so pro-veteran, pro-military, right?
Yes.
But now they probably will be.
Well, you're seeing the left already lean into it, right? Like they're already trying to take advantage of it. And, there's left-wing veterans organizations who are on this. Tammy Duckworth, who was kind of in the running for VP, is a former military veteran. She's, saying she uses, as sad as it is, every other word out of her mouth is talking about her legs. Which are, I honestly, and I've said this before, she's basically kind of like a war hero, right? Like she actually did go through, and she was, I mean, her story's legitimate, but she just keeps using. She's like, well, I would like to see Donald Trump walk a mile in my legs. It's like.
That's impossible. Okay, because he's got two of his own.
Right.
He doesn't need yours for one thing.
But she's really saying things like that.
Right.
Like, I'll put my titanium legs against his. It's like, all right. Like, I legitimately honor what like she's gone through for the country, and you know, much better person than I am for doing it. But like, you have a limited like she's done it like 10 times, and it's like I think she needs to. I don't think it's working anymore. Let's leave it at that.
Well, there was another allegation that was made that he made a comment about amputees. That he said like nobody wants to see that. That's just, and it's like, but I mean. Not an amputee, but they had Madison Cawthon on the convention. Yep. Mm-hmm. He certainly is a wounded warrior that, you know, obviously President Trump had no problem putting on the stage.
Yeah, how did he, he got hurt in an accident, right? I think.
Oh, was it an accident?
I think he was, right? I could be wrong on that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, he's been to, you know, Walter Reed. Right. He's been around. Look, this is just nonsense. He
wore the mask for Walter Reed. Right?
He
never wore the mask. He wore the mask for the veterans.
Yes, he did. Look, it's shocking that anyone would change their vote on this, and I don't even think that's the target. That's the important thing. Like you're saying, like would the average American react to this? The answer to that, I think, is no. The person who's if you're trying to get to react to this, is think of the most annoying person in your Facebook feed that is constantly posting every dumb rumor about Donald Trump. They want that person to get a little bit more excited, so they go click donate to one of these sites. Mm-hmm. That is really the end of this entire thing. Mm-hmm. Now, The Atlantic is going to say, well, we really did get those sources. And who knows, maybe they did. I would not be surprised if they had 4 people who were adjacent to the administration in some way that are backing this up, because I don't know that they're necessarily creating them out of whole cloth. Probably somebody told them the story, but you know, they didn't do basic fact checking.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it seems very clear that they did not get even the most basic fact checking done on it, and I don't expect any more out of The Atlantic. That's for sure.
And it is before we go to break, Pat. It is something that, you know, you hear these stories, and then you kind of can't blame the guy for constantly, you know, not trusting the people around him, making the comments that he's made in the past. When you see the track record of all of these people who apparently he thinks that he can trust, and then they go out and either betray him or flat out lie about him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those. And a lot of them have written books. And
I mean, I would be paranoid too.
Yeah.
Oh, he should totally be paranoid. He should be more paranoid. I mean, the fact that like freaking what's her face from his stupid reality show.
Omarosa.
Omarosa was freaking recording conversations, and they allowed that to happen. Like, I mean, we also have the same thing happening with Melania's best friend now is coming out with a book. Former best friend.
Really?
Oh yeah. Her best friend and like closest confidant, who's in the administration working with the. I mean, you know, adjacent again to the administration, working with the first lady, and they apparently got into a fight and over, you know, like the inauguration, and now she's coming out with her own book, but again with recorded conversations. You know, Mary Trump's book they recorded from Donald Trump's sister. Like, the hell's going on with this family and this administration and this government? They're all out of control. You know, I would be totally paranoid if I were him, and he should be more paranoid. I mean, I've talked to people who've been in the administration. There at least was a time that they were like, everyone was putting their phones in baskets outside of these meeting rooms. I don't know if that's slipped. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, it's partially just a function of everybody having this technology and it being easily accessible. Now it's hard to stop, but still, that needs to be a top priority.
He's only paranoid because everybody's following him.
Well, and he's kind of right.
He is right.
He's kind of right.
Yeah. He does have a point in that regard. All right, we've got more coming up. First, we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Laurel Springs. Some of you, you may think that you're done with all of this homeschooling thing. There are a lot of us who are not. And if you are in that boat, you're one of those people who you're still having to keep your kid at home. Your kid is still having to learn from home. You got to check out Laurel Springs. Now, Laurel Springs has been doing this for nearly 30 years, so they know what they are doing. They are experts in online learning, and they have the tools and the curriculum your kid needs to maintain their learning unhindered by whatever the future holds. Coronavirus 2.0, whatever crazy thing the Democrats throw our way, they will be ready for it. They have flexible learning programs. They've got it for K through 12th grade. So wherever your kid is in that spectrum, they offer challenging and very diverse courses. They are accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and their transcripts are recognized by colleges and universities worldwide. You got to go register your child at laurelsprings.com/Y. If you do it today, you will receive a waived registration fee. That is laurelsprings.com/Y. Don't try to take on all of the burden of teaching your children by yourself. laurelsprings.com/Y. Back in just a minute. All right. The suspect in the fatal Portland shooting, this was, of course, the Patriot Prayer group member who was executed he appeared to be executed from the video footage that we saw. I know we have to
You're
say
being very careful here. Like he
alleged,
said he did it, right?
Right, yeah,
So,
he said he did it. I know, like, from my time as a reporter on the .com side, like, we always have to say alleged. And
Sure.
I'm like, but there's video of it. And it's like, but you have to say it.
You could say it's not. He's never going to be convicted for it, obviously, after the outcome.
Right.
Here. So, but he does pretty much in the footage from Vice say, "I had to do it."
Yes.
Which indicates he did it.
He did it.
Right. That would indicate that.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth, which is kind of like all of it. So he, of course, was a member of Antifa, and he was killed last night as authorities moved in to arrest him. But as Stu pointed out, he was interviewed by Vice, and it was a very, I feel like they wanted to portray him as kind of heroic, quite frankly. But here is what he had to say to Vice about killing the Patriot Prayer group member and how he just had to. He had no other choice. Watch.
Lots of lawyers suggest that I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I feel it's important that the world at least gets a little bit of what's really going on, because there's been a lot of propaganda put out there. I had no choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color. But I wasn't going to do that.
It's important there.
Right.
How was he going to kill him? He wasn't doing anything.
Well,
Did he have
words are violence, though.
that's true.
Oh, that's right.
But silence is violence.
Silence is also
too.
violence. So maybe he was being silent.
That's got to be what it was.
Yeah. Killing with kindness? No, this is killing with silence.
Softly with his song.
Softly, that's
Maybe
right.
he was killing him softly with his song.
I mean, we're joking about it because that's all you can do is joke about it at this point. But really, this is how crazy the world is right now, that Vice was claiming he was a marked man. And he said, they're out hunting me. They gave him this big, long interview. But he literally just shot this guy, and there's absolutely no evidence that we've seen to indicate that there would be an actual legitimate reason for it, other than him saying he was going to kill my friend.
Right. I mean, he's saying that, and there's no reason to believe that he was. I mean, there was a so the New York Times did a reconstruction of this. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but basically they show the Trump supporters going through intersections with paintball guns and pepper spray,
Which I don't think you can kill anyone with.
Pretty sure no. I'm pretty sure at this point.
Just making sure.
But like the paintball guns are separate. But like he was spraying this. They were spraying this pepper spray stuff off the back of his trucks. Again, you're right, not violent. The only thing that they even say that could have possibly happened is if you look very closely on the video, you can see one of the little clouds coming out. It looks like maybe he tried to spray him with pepper spray, but that does not kill you.
Right.
Also, is not a reason to just execute someone in the street. And it also does not explain how they were talking about, there's a couple of them right over there before that happened. I mean, look, he obviously, I think, was guilty of murder. I don't think he cared that he was guilty of murder because he killed the right people, right? The right people are Trump supporters in their book. And this guy, I think, would have never... he would have eventually been probably arrested and convicted by these police and the legal system, and he didn't want to deal with that, apparently. So you get into the shootout, and you do the death by cop thing, and hope that the revolution riots behind you.
Now they kind of are. Have you seen there are messages being left in the streets of Portland, and they're like, "You killed one of our people. He was a good guy." I mean, they really are doing that. He is a martyr now for them.
It's unbelievable. It's despicable. But nobody calls on Antifa out on any of this stuff. The Democrats just give them a total pass. And anything Trump says, it doesn't matter.
They're a myth, though.
Yeah,
according to Jerry Nadler. That's just
right.
Antifa.
Even though this guy says he's 100% anti. Well, he doesn't say it anymore.
Right.
Because we lost him. But he did say he was 100% Antifa.
He did.
He did.
He must have been very confused.
Yes, he must have.
We did hear directly from Jerry Nadler, who obviously knows his stuff. So, I mean, what is it going to get worse before it gets better? Before we move on.
I don't know what you're asking about, but yes.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Literally all things are going to get worse before they get better.
All of this violence in all of these major cities in America, and we've got Antifa members, we've got Black Lives Matter members, we've got these people who are in the streets of major cities, and they're just, we're just killing each other now, apparently.
And they're setting some precedent for maybe a not so peaceful transition of power after the election too.
Yes.
So yeah, it could. I hope it doesn't, and I pray it doesn't. But it could get a lot worse after the election if Trump is elected. You think they're just going to go quietly into the night? Doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah.
There was a headline that I read. I don't think I have it in here, but there was a headline that I read that was basically it was the New York Times or something like that. That was like, basically, there's going to be riots unless Joe Biden wins in a landslide.
Yeah. No.
In a landslide. Not even just if he wins, but if he wins in a landslide.
Of course, the Trump people are going to be, because there's been so many riots started by right-wing people throughout this. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing. If it's not a blow, part of me wants, let's say the outcome is determined. God knows right now who's going to win. I do pray that it is a blowout. Because it really, and not for the Senate and the House, but I just don't want that election to be close, because either side, I think, is going to, claim that something happened. I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it. Both sides are building that case. Trump's doing it too, obviously, with the mail-in voting stuff. He's saying that you can't really trust this. The left is definitely saying it. They say it after every election that they lose. So I think that is going to be dangerous. There's a part of me too that you could look at this and I think there's a good chance that it's going to get really bad from now until November 4th. And depending on the outcome and how that goes, it could even get worse after that. There is, with the overwhelming majority of people though, there is usually a limit to how much of this they'll put up with. Even think about Minneapolis, right? Minneapolis, they rioted for 4 or 5 nights in a row and it started to die down. Portland and Seattle are a different story. They're just kind of in constant riot mode, but it's the same group of people that are doing it for whatever reason is comfortable right now. And they've been doing it in Seattle forever. They had those G7 conferences there, and they'd be lighting the thing on fire every single time. Dallas, look at Dallas. Dallas, that first couple of nights was scary here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of crap going down. People were getting knocked out on the streets. Places were on fire. People were getting looted. And then, it did back down, and we're not seeing a lot of that now. I think the average people, even the people who are really pissed off about this, eventually will tire of the violence. What's really crazy, though, if you take yourself out of where we are, right, where we're at the Blaze, people who listen to the Blaze, I think at least are trying to get the real information and understand this. Take yourself out of this and put yourself on the left for a minute. You've been told for 4 years that an election was stolen last time, not this time, last time, because of the Russians. You've been told that basically as an accident of history and theft, Donald Trump became president in this bizarre confluence of events that could never, ever happen again. Joe Biden is up by a zillion points. He's going to win easily. If he loses, everything they've been told for 4 years isn't true. Their world is going to be shaken in a big way. And I don't know that they're going to be able to handle it, at least for a while. I would expect it to get ugly for a while. But maybe over time, I don't think people have enough. People don't have enough, they don't even go to the gym, let alone go out and riot until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, burning down stores every day. There's a limit to it, I think, with a lot of people. I just hope that we don't press that limit. I don't want to get near that limit. I don't want to get nowhere near it.
Stu says it's going to get ugly for a while. Are you as optimistic as him?
I'm pretty optimistic about that, yeah. I mean, it's sad because we've never had this in America before. We've never had a non-peaceful transition of power. This is really, really a sad time for us because, the fundamental transformation that Barack Obama talked about could be just about completed if Biden is elected. And we have transitioned a lot since 2009 when he took office. And you look at the things going on and you realize that we could transition a little bit more too if this doesn't stop pretty soon.
Did you guys see Jennifer Rubin, who tweeted out, I guess it was this morning, I don't know, I saw it this morning, and she said, we really haven't said that Trump should resign before. We should really start doing that.
That's a great point. No one had thought of that. I hadn't even thought of that.
You've done that since day one. What are you talking about? Yeah. You've not done that yet.
Yeah.
They're already, but to me, that indicates that they are scared that they're not going to win. But they say stuff like that all the time. There's these stories that by all actual accounts on record are completely made up, that President Trump did this and President Trump did that. They're not acting like a people who are confident that they're going to win this.
No, they're not. Well, look at their candidate.
Well,
look at the guy.
They're also terrified because they really thought they were going to win last time. And you see this in the betting markets, I think, when it comes to the election. You see it from a lot of people on the left. Normally they're kind of cocky and saying how we're going to win this. They're definitely scared because it hit them by such a surprise last time. They feel like they're ahead again. The polls are showing they're ahead. So they feel like they've got this thing. And then every single time one poll comes out where it's only 4-point separation, they're like, oh no, it's happening again. They're terrified.
Betting market just tightened within about 2 points or something? 51-49, I think, is what it was this week.
Which is interesting. I don't. There's not a ton of data to support that. It looks like it may be narrowed by a couple of points, but
that's people putting their money where their mouth is, because there's money on the line. Yep. So that's why the betting markets are a pretty good indicator sometimes.
And it can sometimes be a leading indicator.
Yeah.
It can move before the polls.
Yeah.
So I fully 100% believe that this race, Joe Biden is not going to walk through this election and win by 7 points. It's going to tighten at some point. Mm-hmm. Trump's going to have a chance. It's just a matter of if that times out right, does it narrow at the right time? Mm-hmm. And can Trump take advantage of these opportunities? He's got 3 in front of a big audience. Joe Biden can't run from those, I don't think, unless he takes Nancy Pelosi's advice. I think he wants to do those debates, though. I think he wants to prove that he can beat Trump. I think he's that guy. He's been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah.
He does not agree with all of his aides who think he should never speak on camera.
Right.
And oftentimes people who are in the early stages of that, if he really does have a problem, they don't admit and they don't know.
Want to prove it.
They don't understand that my dad was kind of in that, in the last part of his life, and he didn't understand that he was slipping away.
I'm sure they take it personally that anyone would accuse them of being that way.
Yep.
It is. All right, speaking of Joe Biden, we've got him at a town hall event in Kenosha. Spoiler alert, it didn't go great. So we've got that coming up next. Back in a minute.
That's your opinion. You're just giving out some opinion. I thought it went really well.
For who?
For Joe. I usually expect it to go worse.
Okay, that's fair. A woman who attended the town hall event in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Thursday with Joe Biden appeared to suggest when it was her time to speak that she was told to stick to what was written on a piece of paper. I know everyone's up in arms about it, but I want to get to that. But before I do, I do want to get your thoughts, gentlemen, on Joe Biden even coming to Wisconsin. Because we had heard from his campaign, no, Joe Biden is not going to go to Wisconsin. He's not going to go to Kenosha. He would hate to make things, crazier than they already are. He needs to give things a chance to die down. And then Donald Trump went, and I guess, did they see the optics from that and then decided, okay, so Joe Biden's going to go to Wisconsin, and he's going to have a town hall event, and he cares about all these things that we've really basically shown you he doesn't care about, but he really cares about all of them because the polling indicates that he needs to care about them. That's the only thing that I can gather from it, because it was such a giant flip-flop in such a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Pat, do you
Yeah,
agree?
I think so. They've shown that they're watching the polls very closely, which is why he's only now talking about the violence.
Right. Like,
and
well, what about
the
the first
violence
100
is all of a
days?
sudden bad when before it was not a problem.
Right.
We didn't even talk about it.
Right.
Don't say anything about Antifa. Don't say anything about the riots. Don't say anything about looting.
They're all
now all of a
peaceful.
sudden, all of that is happening, but it's all Trump's fault.
Right.
So.
Right. Wait, like, which one is it?
Well, there's three basic levels of polling. You have the worst quality level, which is the internal polls that the campaign releases to the public. Then you have the public polling that we all see. And then the best polling is the internal polling that they don't tell the public about. And that polling is the stuff that they really learn from and really shapes the way that they run the campaign. And clearly, the polling is part of this here. The other thing, too, is maybe Joe Biden was doing some research on how the Jews run the media and wanted to talk to Jacob Blake's dad about it. Because I know he has some real information about how bad Jews are. And maybe Joe needed to just get some of that information out. I don't know.
And white people. He might have been schooled on how awful white he is.
I think he knows how bad white people are already.
Yeah, could
Okay, so good. Because they've been complaining about that for a while.
That is incredible, though. And nothing from the mainstream media about that aspect.
Yeah, Jacob Blake's dad, multiple social media posts on that front. And again, I think it's a little... Look, anti-Semitism's really bad, and I want it rooted out of society. Do I think that we should go back to every person's, dad, so every person who's got shot's dad and look at their social media accounts? Probably not. But the president, the potential president, former vice president, potential president of the United States wants to meet with this guy.
Right.
If Donald Trump wanted to meet with David Duke because his son was shot, no one would be cool with that.
Yeah.
That would not be something that would be okay. It just is okay because no one holds the same standard to Joe Biden as they do to Trump or anybody else, seemingly.
So the woman who spoke at the event who is making waves, her name is Porsche Bennett, and she apparently is with the Black Lives Activists Kenosha group. And here is what she said during her time.
Round of conversation, please. The undercover is bragging about you.
What?
Hello, my name is Porsche Bennett. I'm just going to be honest, Mr. Biden. I was told to go off this paper, but I can't.
All right.
You need the truth. And I'm part of the truth. I was born here, raised here, first 8th grade class of the school that was named after his mother. So I have to give you the truth of the people. And the truth of the matter is we are heavily angry. Not angry as to where people say, oh, they're protesting. There's a difference between a protester and a rioter. A very big difference.
Agreed.
Now, people are kind of focusing on the woman obviously saying, they told me to read off this piece of paper, but I'm not going to. I think just from an off-air conversation that we had that we're kind of in agreement that it probably is not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. She did come out and say that when she was saying she was told to read from a piece of paper, it was from her organization. And even if it wasn't, still.
Yeah, this is relatively common in public events where, they would solicit questions. And a lot of times, sometimes you'd even write them down yourself and then go up there and they give you a card so that you don't essentially change your question or don't get nervous and don't know what to say. Especially with televised events, they do that. I know even when we do Q&As at shows for Glenn, for example, people will submit all their questions usually in writing and we'll look for, it's not like they're not trying to catch him in something in that circumstance, but we'll look for ones that will lead to the best stories or a lot of times it's me sorting through them to try to trap Glenn as easily as possible.
I totally believe that.
But it's not totally uncommon. Now that doesn't mean that they've never done this or they don't give out talking points. I would not be surprised at all. What you normally would see though is when the person is submitting the question, that person, the political operative, is helping that person form the question they're asking beforehand. So it wouldn't be necessarily here's a question that's appropriate to ask to Joe Biden and hand it out. Unlikely they'd be doing that because they'd be nervous about being caught. Right. So it's not out of the question that this was planted by the Biden administration or the Biden campaign, but also I would say there's a good chance that it isn't as big of a deal as people are saying.
Yeah, Pat.
I was told to agree with Stu, but I got to tell my truth here, and everything he said was a big fat lie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a complete bald-faced communist lie.
But I was told by Sarah to say it, so I thought that I had to say that.
Hey, no, I'm not involved in this.
I mean, look at the way she set me up. Stu,
Right?
go ahead. You
Right?
tell.
Yeah.
You say your
We
side
had
of
an
this.
off-air conversation I'd like for you to bring up right now, Stu. All right, before we go, in this event, Biden wrapped up his comments moments later, but it got a little bit awkward, I guess, whenever he was wrapping things up. Take a look.
There's so much we can do. So much we can do.
So much we can do.
And we can do it just by eliminating
whispering.
the tax cut for the top 1/10%, which is $1,350 billion. It's done nothing to help anybody.
50 billion.
What's he doing?
19 corporations making $1 billion apiece don't pay a single penny in taxes. I'm not going to punish anybody, but everybody should pay a fair share. And I can lay out for you. I won't now because they'll shoot me. But here's the deal.
Oh, man.
I pay for every single thing I'm proposing without raising your taxes one penny. If you make less than $400,000, you're not going to get a penny tax, and you're going to get a tax cut if you make under $125,000.
Now, am I personally offended? No, because he didn't mean it in any sort of derogatory way. They're going to shoot me. Gosh, there's just some crazy stuff that happened here. I probably shouldn't say that. But, it is interesting to see him kind of make up stuff whenever he realizes he's out of gas.
I am actually offended by it. However, I'm offended by the part where he just assumes none of the black people in his audience have any money. Like, oh, you guys are all poor, so you're gonna get money back. But if you make a lot of money, I mean, he says $400,000, I guess, which is a lot. Maybe you could assume that no one in any audience is making that much money. But the point, I guess, is like. He comes out. He's obviously lying about the tax thing, which is frustrating. He will now. To keep in mind how extreme he is, Barack Obama ran on $1 trillion of new spending. Joe Biden is running now on $6 trillion of new spending, 6 times what Barack Obama ran on. His vice presidential choice, to indicate his real goals here, ran on $47 trillion of new spending. So you could guess that between 6 and 47 might be the right number of what they'd actually do if they get elected and get power. That should scare the hell out of you.
And the number that's been thrown around with his tax hike is $4 trillion, right? That they've been talking about his proposal being a $4 trillion increase. Well, if that's the case, you can't do that just by taxing people over $400,000 a year.
Right.
You don't get there from that.
Even if you're like 70 and 80%, you're not getting there.
Yeah, no.
It's just not the way it works.
No, everybody's going to be hit with that. If he really does raise taxes like that, and I fully expect him to, because they've got all kinds of proposals and goodies that they've been promising to everybody, all kinds of freebies. From free college, and I don't think his is free to everybody. He's got a little bit different plan than
it's community college for free.
Community college, which cost a little bit less, I guess. But all the things, and he's still on board with parts of the Green New Deal. I mean, it's a nightmare, and it's going to be really expensive.
And he's going further and further left as we go.
And look where the economy is right now. You add a tax increase to that, and you're going to damage it a lot further.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come. Back in a minute.
Fundamentally, too, it's like neither one of these guys are going to quote unquote solve racism, but it's like they'll take money out of your pocket.
We've covered this on the show throughout the week, but I'm with Pat and Stu, and so I felt it appropriate to make sure that we get your opinions on the Nancy Pelosi scandal. The latest, of course, is that her daughter, Christine Pelosi, released a letter from the law firm that's representing the cosmetologist who provided the stylist services to Nancy Pelosi. And of course, the law firm is accusing the salon owner of what Nancy Pelosi said she did, which was engaging in a setup. And this cosmetologist says that he has worked at the salon for approximately 6 years and that he received approval from the salon owner to book an appointment with Pelosi. The salon owner says there was no way that was possible. They connected directly to the stylist himself. They arranged it. She's had the security system for 5 years, and that's not possible. Either way, I'm like, so like if you go to commit a crime and someone sees that you're going to go commit a crime and lets you do it, is it really that person's fault that they had video of you doing it? Like, to me, that's not a setup.
This is what I don't understand about the story. The salon owner, did not have the power to approve it. Right? You could say she approved it all you want, but Nancy Pelosi knew the place was closed for legal reasons.
Which is why her assistant texted them.
Right. And this is also why when they say, well, I thought they told me they could accommodate one person. They could accommodate one person, but you told them they're not allowed to. Right? Like, so they weren't able to do it legally. They could do it physically. Yes. And no matter, the whole point is, if the salon owner approves, if the stylist approves, you still can't get your hair cut. That's what everyone else in the area is dealing with. She broke that rule. It has nothing to do with now look, was it a setup at some level? Did she know going in there that she was going to pull that?
I hope she did.
I think she did. I hope she did. And also, she also couldn't force her to not wear a mask. That was just her choice. So this is a pathetic defense of a pathetic human being. I mean, Nancy Pelosi sucks. That's why the NancyPelosiSucksPen.com exists, Pat. Because she sucks. She's terrible. She is an embarrassment. And the fact that the media continues to cover for her in the circumstances is ridiculous, with the exception of Fox News, who shows it every 9 seconds.
It's got to be the most shown video on Fox News ever.
What about Kayleigh McEnany, who came out in the White House press briefing?
And put it on a loop.
It was amazing.
So great. I love Kayleigh McEnany. I think she does a great job. But, now all of a sudden Nancy Pelosi's the victim here. She's the victim.
Of course.
Of a setup.
She's only apologizing for falling victim to these awful people. And it's even now, I think in San Francisco, you still can't do indoor hair, right? It has to be outside.
It has to be outside, but if you're messing with chemicals, which you would if you're coloring hair, you can't do it outside because of California's environmental restrictions.
Who does their hair saloning stuff outside? I don't know anybody. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it.
I really don't think it exists.
So in any event, they were breaking the rules. Nancy Pelosi was breaking the rules by setting up the appointment and going to that hair salon.
Does part of you almost admire just the gall that it takes for her to go out there and be like, I take responsibility for being set up. That's all.
Oh my God, that's way too good. You have to
really
please
good.
never do that again.
And this is without all the vodka that pumps through her veins 24/7.
That's a very good and shockingly disturbing impression you just did. That's great.
I mean, seriously, sometimes you're like, I guess I admire the woman for
she doesn't care.
Sticking to it.
And she lives in a world in which she is better than everyone else in it. So that is her impression of you. You suck. You can't go to your funeral. She can go to John Lewis's funeral, but your loved one doesn't matter because he's not famous, not related to her. She'll do what she wants. She's better than you, period.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute. Yesterday's poll, have you already made up your mind as to whom you're going to vote for? Almost 98% of you said yes, which I think that's an honest answer. That's obviously a very scientific poll. 2% said no. So I think that's...
Have you made up your mind yet?
I made up my mind.
Really baffled.
Are you? You're not sure?
Who could it be? I don't know.
Do I want the riots in the streets? Do I want the peace?
Do I want the tax increase? Because I kind of do.
Yeah.
I love it when the government takes more money out of my checks. Don't you love that?
No.
No. Okay, weird.
Do you love it?
Weird.
I love it. I love higher taxes.
See, Stu and I are good people. We're patriots who believe we should give more.
Yeah, Joe Biden told us it's patriotic to pay more
Patriotic thing to do. Come on, step up, man.
That's interesting now that the left is the experts in patriotism.
Oh, they've always been so patriotic. You know how patriotic they are? They have such reverence for the flag, they take a knee when we sing that.
And burn it in the streets?
Yeah.
Oh, and also say death to America in the...
We're a little off track here, but yes.
Okay.
Generally speaking, yes.
Today's question, what is the most important issue for you in the 2020 election? Your options are COVID and the lockdowns, Black Lives Matter protests and riots, the economy, or something else. Gosh, that's tough. I don't think we can come up with an answer there.
That's actually a really good question.
I know.
I think you could really pick several options there.
Economy and BLM concern.